Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Priyadvaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Priyadvaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Shyam Sundar Radha Shyam Sundar Shri Radhe Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Shri Radhe Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Gurudev 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 Nisai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nisai Gaura Hari Bol Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nisai Gaura Hari Bol
Jaya Vishnupad Paramahansa Pariviragacharya Astatara Satasi Srimad. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Nitya Leela Prabhishta Om Paramahansa Pariviragacharya Astatara Satasi Srimad. His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki, His Confounder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki, Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki, Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki, Shri Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki, Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki, Ganga Mai Ki, Jamuna Mai Ki, Tulsi Devi Ki, Bhakti Devi Ki, Shri Hari Nam Sankirtan Ki, Brihat Madanga Transcendental Book Distribution Ki, Shri Shri Radha Shama Sundara Ki, Shri Shri Radha Madhava Ki, Mahashiman Mahaprabhu Ki, Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Adi. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Adi. Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari. Gopijana Vallabha Jasodanandana Brajjanaranjana Jasodanandana Brajjanaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachadi. Jamuna Tira Vanachadi. Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Adi. Madhava Punjabi. Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Adi. Madhava Punjabi Adi. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari. Jasodanandana Brajjanaranjana Jasodanandana Brajjanaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamunatiragnachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Adi Madhava Punjabi Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Adi Madhava Punjabi Adi Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Bhari Visakacharya Astatara Satasi Srimad His Divine Grace Nasi Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Grantaraj Bhagavatam Ki Gaura Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udhirayat. Canto 3, Chapter 28, Text 26. I think I have the meter. Let's see what happens. Vakshod Divasam Rishabhasya Mahavibhute Pumsamano Nayanam Nivritim Adharhanam Itham Chaskastuba Manir Abhibhushanartam. Is that right? Oyam Manasya Kiraloka Namaskritasya. I think the meter's wrong. The meter should be same as Sri Brahma Samhita. Vaksho Divasam Rishabhasya Mahavibhute Unsamano Nayana Nirvitim Adadhanam Kantam Chakaustubhamanirabhi Bhushanartham Kuryan Manasya Kila Loka Namaskritasya. Translation: the yogi should then meditate on the chest of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the abode of the goddess Mahalakshmi. The Lord's chest is the source of all transcendental pleasure for the mind and full satisfaction for the eyes. The yogi should then imprint on his mind the neck of the personality of Godhead, who is adored by the entire universe. The neck of the Lord serves to enhance the beauty of the Kaustubha gem, which hangs on his chest. purport. It's an interesting purport. In the Upanishads, it is said that the various energies of the Lord are working to create, destroy, and maintain. These inconceivable varieties of energy are stored in the bosom of the Lord. As people generally say, God is all-powerful. That process is represented by Mahalakshmi, the reservoir of all energies, who is situated on the bosom of the transcendental form of the Lord. The yogi who can meditate perfectly on that spot, on the transcendental form of the Lord, can derive many material powers, which comprise the 8 perfections of the yoga system. In case you wanted to develop some mystic powers, now you know. Paragraph. It is stated herein that the beauty of the neck of the Lord enhances the beauty of the Kaustubha gem rather than vice versa. The gem itself becomes more beautiful because it is situated on the neck of the Lord. A yogi is therefore recommended to meditate upon the Lord's neck. The Lord's transcendental form can either be meditated upon in the mind or placed in a temple in the form of a statue and decorated in such a way that everyone can contemplate it. Temple worship, therefore, is meant for persons who are not so advanced that they meditate upon the form of the Lord. There is no difference between constantly visiting the temple and directly seeing the transcendental form of the Lord. Semicolon. They are of equal value. The advantageous position of the yogi is that he can sit anywhere in a solitary place and meditate upon the form of the Lord. A less advanced person, however, has to go to the temple, and as long as he does not go to the temple, he is unable to see the form of the Lord, either by hearing, seeing, or meditating. The objective is the transcendental form of the Lord. There is no question of voidness or impersonalism. The Lord can bestow the blessings of transcendental pleasure upon either the visitor of the temple, the meditator yogi, or one who hears about the Lord's transcendental form from scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita. There are 9 processes for executing devotional service, of which smaranam, or meditation, is one. The yogis take advantage of the process of smaranam, whereas the bhakta yogis take special advantage of the process of hearing and chanting. Pretty packed purport, huh? Without the Bhaktivedanta purports, what will we do? Just go to the next verse and go to the next verse. There's purification in just doing that, but there's further purification in the benefit of having the Bhaktivedanta purports or the commentaries of our acharyas to guide us to understand. So several interesting points. One, the goddess of fortune is situated on the chest of the Lord. So here the word is used, bosom. That means the chest, on the chest of the Lord. That mark of Sri Vatsa, mark of the curling hair on the chest of the Lord, that's where goddess Lakshmi resides. And from the goddess Lakshmi, of course, there's a number of ways of describing what the goddess Lakshmi is and does. She's the source of the beauty of the Supreme Lord, or she enhances the beauty of the Supreme Lord. She's very beautiful. Transcendentally beautiful. And from her, the people may be attracted by, one might say, the physical beauty or the form of a beautiful person. And others may be attracted, regardless of the physical form, or in addition to the physical form, the opulence of a person. So the Aishvarya feature of Narayana, or the personality of Godhead, is Lakshmi, the opulent feature. And she's on his bosom. So the yogi, so we're making this, there are three processes: deity worship, remembrance, the yogi engaged in meditation, and that's the focus that he is describing, but there's the comparison also to other approaches to the same purpose, and the devotee that's just by hearing. So we engage ultimately all three, and then the object is the personality of Godhead. That's the main point. There's many nice other points, but personalism, please. And impersonalism has no standing. It's not attractive. It may be attractive to those who are less intelligent, but it's not attractive. It's not attractive in the absolute sense of attractive. The personal feature is the attractiveness. And so part of the attractiveness of the Supreme Person is the goddess of fortune, who is his constant companion and associate. And she bears or manifests opulences. And then for the meditator, an interesting point, I don't recall reading this elsewhere, they meditate on that spot in the chest or bosom of the Supreme Lord. And by that method, they get opulences, mystic powers. So they have to be really good yogis to develop mystic powers. But some persons have mystic powers and they can do this and that and the other thing. And where does that ability come from? It comes from the goddess of fortune, and ultimately that means the goddess of fortune comes from the personality of God, the source of everything. Mystic yogis. That's a very strong power of concentration. So our strong power of concentration, how do we develop that? And the hearing and chanting in a qualitative way. Just this morning I was listening to Srila Prabhupada speaking at the Kumbh Mela in 1971. And you could hear all the noise in the background because you're just sitting in a place where there's no building. It's just sitting on the grass or the bank of the two rivers. And he's narrating the Ajamila story, and the particular verse is narrating just once. And he was making the same point here, making the emphasis that offenseless chanting just once, of course it's a nice little adjective, offenseless chanting even once, everything, name, form, qualities, pastimes, everything. So that's our process. I remember in 1970, one devotee said that Prabhupada told them, when you're chanting your 16 rounds, if you can hear one mantra, if you can hear one name perfectly, your life is perfect. And so practice. This Prabhupada is encouraging this particular devotee. Try to chant with that attentiveness. And then, as he said in the morning class, because persons are not offenseless, therefore there's the procedure of chanting some prescribed number. He gave the example of a child doesn't know how to write. So by writing and writing and writing and writing, eventually, if they're attentive, they can make the writing nice. But by practice and practice. So therefore, the practice for us, the hearing and chanting practice, is to realize in full name, form, qualities, pastimes, and it's quite, for those who are on that liberated platform, Prabhupada was explaining, it's ecstatic. They experience something that's no longer regulative. It's ecstatic. It's spontaneous attraction by the process of practice. And of course, the practice in the association of those that have that, or meditating upon those that have that power. Exactly, exactly our process from Vaidhi to Raga to Prema. We're some distance away. But the process for the yogi, the process for the deity worshipper, the process for the hearer and chanter, it's focused on the personal feature, name, form, qualities, pastimes, starting with the name. And but the name is accompanied, when done properly, is accompanied by Harikatha and the topics about Krishna. So we're meditating on the topics of Krishna instead of rubbish. So here, Kapila Deva is outlining to Devahuti the process of yoga. It's not like he's expecting her to become one of these meditator yogis, but he's describing the process so that she understands the process, and then behind the process is the principles of the process. So it's not the purport is explaining something that's not in the verse. The mystic yogis meditate in this way on the form of the Lord and in meditating on the different parts of the body of the Lord. And then, so his chest, where is the goddess of fortune resides. And then mentioned next is the neck. And while it's in the verse, the translation of the verse, because the Kaustubha gem is said to be on the neck of the Lord, but it's a hanging from the neck of the Lord, and it's on his chest. But the neck becomes enhanced by the gem, not vice versa. That's one of his points. Because the all attractiveness of the all attractive makes anything that's nice all attractive. So he has ornaments, but he enhances the ornaments, not vice versa. You know, that's otherworldly, because people that decorate themselves, what's the purpose? To enhance their features or their beautifulness or something or something or something. It's a cosmetic. It's something that's not them. It's something that's on them or on the body. So this is different. It's just a transcendental feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So let's go back, and there's three. There's the yogi whose practices smarana. There's the less advanced person who cannot see the form of the Lord with their mind's eye, and so there's, and in addition, therefore Prabhupada uses sometimes the word neophyte. Neophyte obviously doesn't apply to very advanced devotees who also have deities, just like we did our discussion yesterday. Gopal Bhatta wasn't neophyte. He didn't like deity worship because he was a neophyte. But what's it like for one who's not a neophyte to worship a deity? And it's just a whole other purpose and experience, etc., etc., etc. I mean, that was his upbringing, and not only his upbringing, his position, his spiritual position. And he liked. So it's not when he was doing the deity worship, there was no smarana, there was no shravanam kirtanam. But it was an absorption in another one of the limbs of bhakti, archanam. And we got a glimpse of some of the activities that he would engage in while his deity worship was going on, and the mindfulness of Gopal Bhatta while engaging in worship. But who can understand the platform that he was on? So it's the stage of perfection, it's not the stage of sadhana. For us, it's the stage of sadhana. That's okay. Sadhana, if when done properly, and properly means without offense. Therefore, there's offenses to be avoided in chanting, there's offenses to be avoided in the deity worship, and there's vidhis, the do's and the don'ts. So sadhana is to be done mindfully with the do's and the don'ts, and besides the do's and the don'ts, what's behind the do's and the don'ts? The goal. To become connected fully with the personality of Godhead. So he was connected and engaged in his worship. So who knows what that experience was? And reciprocation in various ways. Wonderful. The topic of Gopal Bhatta was very enlivening to prepare, and I'm going to go to, because I asked Jivana Jivana to see if he could find the reference of the form of Radharaman, and how the form of Radharaman is the most ideal depiction of the form in a deity form, because it's self-manifesting deity, not carved by a murtiwala somewhere in Jaipur or wherever. Now, it doesn't belittle the murtiwalas, because they're gifted by power to do what they do. But I'm going to read because it's nice. This is from OBL Kapoor, if I can find it. Here you go. Gopal Bhatta believed that the words of Mahaprabhu would come true, and one day the Shalagram would manifest himself as Radharaman. In imagination, dhyan, or smarana, he used to see a vigraha of Radharaman, whose face resembled the face of Rupa Goswami's Govindaji. The chest resembled the chest of Madhu Pandit's Gopinath, and the feet resembled the feet of Sanatana Goswami's Madan Mohan. Thus he tried to see the three in one. This is before he's worshipping his Shalagram Shilas, meditating in this way. So he already has a form. He's what a powerful Vaishnava. He has a form in his mind. So the morning that Radharaman manifest, he was delighted beyond measure to see that same Shalagram, whom he had found first in Gandaki, had appeared as Radharaman. Radharaman's Sri Vigraha was just like the one he used to imagine or meditate upon. Powerful Vaishnava, reciprocated in a powerful way by the personality of Godhead. Lord, you could say, give different names, by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or by Lord Narayana, or pick a name, Govinda, Gopinath, Madan Mohan, reciprocated and manifested and worshipped. So, back to the Bhaktivedanta purport of Canto 3, the picture is step by step by step. Kapila Deva, is introducing his mother to the process of spiritual perfection through the yoga system, and then ultimately comes Bhakti Yoga. But this meditation of the yogi is not with the same emphasis of hearing and chanting, but it's certainly personalism, just a different form or expression. That's very, very difficult, very rare, very unusual, but it's possible. And the personalism is the goal. Okay, let's see if there's some discussion. Yeah, Jamuna Jivana?
I've been thinking about the class last night.
About which?
I've been thinking about the class from last night, Maharaj. The qualification of Gopal Bhatt Goswami, and in contrast his abject humility, that his qualification and how humble he feels about himself.
Qualification is just, and what?
Humility. His humility, Maharaj?
Humility.
Abject humility was just...
Yeah.
I found it very edifying and endearing. And I was thinking how from the get-go, Gopal Bhatt Goswami was just very humble.
Hmm.
And considering, conditioned souls are like ourselves, it seems like the journey of humility for us is more like the Kalya experience, where we have to get smashed by material nature so many times before some ounce of humility may squeeze out of our hearts. So that was sort of a contemplation for me. I wanted to ask you, in general, is about that journey of humility, of getting to be a humble person.
Getting to be what?
A humble person.
A humble person.
To actually generate humility where we can chant offenselessly. What does that look like?
Well, you're circling back to your starting point. It manifests differently with different personalities. You take some names. Haridas Thakur. And then there's pastimes where he's clear and strong and not intimidated by anyone or anything. So that's Haridas Thakur. This and that and the other and the other. Another, this was from Sanatana Goswami, because it was not so long ago we observed the disappearance day of Sanatana Goswami. This was some days back. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu declares to Ramananda Roy that Sanatana Goswami, because he had just heard Sanatana Goswami and seen his humility. So he was perfectly humble, at the same time perfectly wise, because persons that are wise sometimes exhibit the opposite of humble. They exhibit pride. And, and very refined character, perfect in his etiquette. So it's part of your question is, what does it look like? It's part of the territory, and it's going to be manifest differently by different persons. Let's go to, way over there is Jagadananda Pandit. And he was, he was a lover. It was on the Prema Bhakti platform, but his pride was in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and his behavior looked other than humble in relation to Sanatana Goswami, in relation to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in relation to smashing the oil and this and that. So he was now it's wild man. But with one thing. So it can take different features, but it's a single-mindedness of one thing and no other thing. And that's accessible when there's humility, that is a full dependence upon the pleasure of the object. That's what it looks. So it can look differently, but that's the feature. So what is that? What is that humility? There's different ways of describing what that is, but your question is not what is it, and what does it look like? It looks differently from different people. Exclusive, ahituki.
Follow-up, Maharaj. Is it to be expected that our default position is pride, and so we will have to go through the fire of challenge to get to a place of humility?
Probably, but that is not not a necessity. It's not a prerequisite. Bhaktisiddhanta's language, the fire of ordeal. But the ordeal is because of affinity for something else. We have another shelter, we have another idea that happiness is over here or over there. And then comes the blaming, and the finger pointing, and you know, the problem is over there. Not in here, it's over there. So that's the ordeal. There's a fire, but the someone else lit the fire. It's not over here, it's over there. And so animosity, etc. Those negative emotions it arises from. It's painful to see it, and at the same time, people that are stuck in that place can't see it. It's interesting that you bring this up because I'm dealing with two situations that are exactly on the point, and they don't get it. And so the problem is over there. And something further? Next? Other?
Guru Maharaj, this purport describes these three categories of people. There's the yogi that indulges in smaranam.
I'm impaired with my hearing capacity. Where's the speaker? Huh? That's it? That little thing over there, that's it? Keep going. Let's see what happens.
So there's the yogi that is following the process of smaranam. The neophyte, their process is deity worship. And the bhakti yogi, hearing and chanting. That's what was
yes, those three.
And Maharaj, it seems that even for the yogi to have a personal conception for smaranam, or for the neophyte to actually advance through the process of deity worship, hearing and chanting is a must. So to me, it seems hearing and chanting would be needed for both of those other two categories of persons.
Yeah, how does a yogi doing his meditation know how to do his meditation? He heard something. He has got a teacher, and the teacher is explaining something. So it depends on the gift of the teacher, what the teacher is giving. Has the teacher heard? Other than the mechanical procedures. And same for deity worship. You know, one can know the details of deity worship and not have a personal conception and not have so yes, hearing and chanting is necessary for anything. And so yeah, so we also have deity worship, obviously, in temples or as in one's home. It's encouraged along with the hearing and chanting. But what's the purpose of the deity worship? One of the primary purposes is to engage the senses in the form of the Lord. And develop, it's like, Canto 2, Chapter 2. Seeing the Lord, anyway, there's the sequence. But the sequence is meant to bring one to the realization of name, form, quality, pastimes, etc. Come to prema stage. And so there's different approaches for different folks. But hearing and chanting, back to your point, yes, hearing and chanting is imperative. And then the source from whom we hear is very important.
So, Guru Maharaj, when we say there are 9 processes of devotional service, starting with Shravanam Kirtanam,
Yes.
it's not, it's like the previous one folds into the
I'm sorry, your noise I couldn't hear.
It seems like the previous process folds into or is included in.
Yeah, it just matures. Okay. Anyone else? Srila Prabhupada ki jai.